Hi, I'm Dave Curlin. I'm the founder and CEO at Objective Management Group. And in 1990, we began evaluating and assessing salespeople, sales managers, and sales leaders. And we have now evaluated 1.8 million of those people. And we have buckets full of data. And that data tells some great stories. The why they aren't crazy, I think, comes down to so many of them, number one, still have a selling responsibility, and they make more money selling. They have more fun selling, and they use sales as an excuse to not spend their time coaching. Number two, I believe that there hasn't been a mandate laid down from the C-suite that says, you know what, we need to have a culture of coaching. And without that expectation and requirement, salespeople are left to their own devices. And left to their own devices, they see sales management as more of a reports and numbers job than a coach and develop job. They say things are very ugly in sales management land. They say that overall only 10% of all sales managers are any good at coaching. And most of that 10% comes from the top 15% of all sales managers. The bottom 85% are absolutely abysmal at it. And they rarely do any coaching. And when they do coach, they don't do it the right way. To them, coaching is a ride along. Coaching is giving them the pricing they want. Coaching is helping them with the technical aspect of a proposal, but very rarely is there a constructive debrief of a sales call. Very rarely is there a constructive pre-call strategy conversation about what needs to happen. And almost never is there any role-playing. And role-playing is the single most powerful coaching tool on the planet. There's simulated role plays where it's kind of scripted. And then there's the role play a sales manager needs to do early on, where they have their salesperson play the prospects part and they play a salesperson. And the conversation is demonstrated to the salesperson by role play, where the salesperson can play as tough a prospect as they need to be. I think that the proof of this is if you ask a salesperson that's about to make a call, a scheduled call, or go on a scheduled meeting, so what's this call going to sound like? Or how's this call going to sound? The most common answer to that question is, what do you mean? Well, how do you expect the conversation to go? Good, I guess. But what are the words going to be? Salespeople don't think about the opening question. And I believe that's the only question you need to bring to a meeting, is the first question. And if you've got a good first question and you can be in the moment and actively listen, and you're prepared to ask follow-up questions, then you can ask 50 or 60 follow-up questions to that first question, and it just sounds like a nice back and forth conversation. But salespeople tend to script out their questions, and one question's disjointed from the next, and it's an antidote to a good conversation. The best generic opening question, and it can be tailored and customized for the prospect, ought to be something like, we scheduled this meeting a couple of weeks ago when you decided to invite me to meet with you. What were you hoping that we could talk more about? And to that, a prospect can say, well, I was hoping you could tell us a little about yourselves, or I was hoping we could talk about this problem I shared with you. And the salesperson has two choices. They can, if they're asked to talk about themselves, they can say, I'd love to, but I'd like to put it in context. Is it okay if I ask you a couple of questions so I can talk about us in context? And then we never have to talk about us again, because it'll go question, 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 question until we've hit 50 and we can summarize. Or if they say, I was hoping we could talk about the issue we started talking about on the phone, we definitely want to go that way. step one, create a coaching environment that supports coaching. Your salespeople need to have a relationship with you. They need to trust your intentions. They need to respect your coaching, and they need to be coachable. If all four of those things aren't in place, I don't care how good a coach you are, coaching won't work. Number two, focus initially on post-call debriefs. Instead of asking how did it go, ask how it ended and work backwards until you find out where a call or a meeting went off the rails. And look for two things. Look for a skill gap, something they didn't know to do or didn't know how to do, and look for a weakness, something in their sales DNA that caused them to take a left when they should have taken a right. Number three, always get a lesson learned. Number four, role play the next steps. So here's where you are and here's where we need to be. Let's role play what that next conversation needs to sound like to reach your objective. And number five, rinse and repeat. Do it often. There are statistics on this that sales managers who coach consistently and effectively see on average, a 28% increase in revenue. So if you make that specific to a salesperson, and we can overcome the limitations of their sales DNA, and that's absolutely coaching and not training, and then fill their skill gaps, that's training and coaching, double or triple sales are absolutely in the cards.